Hi everyone, my name is Ben Wright-Human, cartoonist extraordinaire, and welcome to a little bit of a different live stream than what I normally do. I'm not sure if the audio is looking normal right now. It might be a little bit off, and that is because I actually have a different mic setup that I actually am prioritizing a different mic. There are reasons for this. I'm not going to go into it too much, but you may see some mismatch with my lips. If it's really bad, let me know. Don't worry, you're not going to be looking at my face most of the time, because we are actually going to be switching to a different camera. Because I have a table cam. This is kind of a bootleg setup, so there are going to be some growing pains with it, but it seems to be working, and I am looking forward to getting it more functional as the days progress. Now, what we're going to be doing today is what's called graphite wash. Graphite wash is a technique where you take graphite powder, don't even use liquid or anything like that, and you apply it like paint, and it creates this really cool, gritty-looking effect. It's what was used by Stephen Gammell in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books, which is how I learned about it. And it is just, it's so cool. I love doing it. I'm doing it as part of the commission tier for the Less Than Secret Kickstarter that is up on Kickstarter right now. So as part of that, we are doing what is called a Draw This in Your Style Challenge, or DTIYS. And for that, I have art by the fantastic Andrew Small. He's Bransom_art over on Instagram and Twitter. And he has provided this illustration. And this is what I'm going to be using as the demo for Graphite Wash. Now, this is not going to be up on the screen the whole time because, well, then the way this is set up currently, you only see my table cam as very tiny. But enough of hearing my face talk. By the way, you'll note I'm not wearing one of my typical button-down, fancy-looking shirts. I'm wearing a t-shirt because Graphite Wash is messy. That's rule one. So let's go ahead and get switched over to the proper setup so you don't have to deal with mismatched lip flap any longer. There we go. So I first came across Graphite Wash back when I found a forum post talking about Stephen Gammell. And one of the things that was brought up is that people were asking how he created his trademark super creepy style, and that was the answer. And I started messing with it. I'm like, yep, you do a bit more, but this is where you get that drippy, creepy, dark look. So where we're going to start, normally I actually go straight in with the graphite wash, but because I'm directly trying to imitate another image, I am going to start with a pencil layout. By the way, because it's so messy, I'm working on like cardboard. That's why you're seeing this nastiness. I should probably also show, I can't really do this without tipping it. Let me put the lid back on. I am working with General's graphite powder. This is not how I originally started, but it is what I was able to get recently. Got a ton of it for not a lot of money, and it works great. Let's see. Let's rough out the basic shape of this guy. I actually tried to print out a picture so I could have it in frame the whole time. This only got launched today, so I haven't had a lot of time to mess with it. I found out, unfortunately, my printer cartridges are a little stale. So that, I think specifically, my cyan isn't working because I ended up with this, which looks awful, but I may use a little bit of it for reference. This is going to be grayscale anyway, but yeah. So I was excited to get Andrew involved with this part of it. He has been working on the Kickstarter. This was his very first Kickstarter, his very first published work, and he has been very, very helpful, I gotta say. I'm trying to do these pencils as lightly as possible because you don't want them to show through too much. His story featured this creature, a Rougarou, which is I associate it most with Cajun folklore. I don't know if that's accurate because I know it's also part of French Canada, and I understand that's different from Cajun, the way we typically associate it. Get the tail there. And of course, the cell phone. The cell phone is an important part of Andrew's story in our anthology. It is because the whole thing is about a Rougarou catfishing people, which is just as fun as it sounds. Actually, really like drawing skulls. Okay, so we have the rough for the character. Now, applying one of the tools that you will want to have on hand, actually, I'll use a clean one because why not? You want to have a kneadable eraser. It's one of the key tools in all of this. And something I'll show you, this is a clean chunk of kneadable eraser. I'll make it a little bigger. That's a clean chunk. You see it's that light gray. This is a used one. Not showing up great with this lighting. Can I get more in here? Not really. Unfortunately, I actually had a lamp go dead, but that's a clean one. That's a dirty one. So big difference. It picks up, but it's great at picking up anything graphite. So we're going to start, just get right into here. Like I said, you don't actually need water or anything like that. I'm going to put a huge chunk of this because the fun fact is it actually, until you really work it in, doesn't stick that much. So we're going to get it all over. There we go. You can already see why it's messy, right? It's getting everywhere. It's funny. I've spent a decent chunk of the last year back in Richmond at my parents' house because it was a lot easier to do quarantine as a family than otherwise. And I only did one graphite wash product thing while there because I was so paranoid of messing up anything at my parents' house. Now that I'm back in Columbus, much less of a concern. But yeah, this is not something I would recommend you do with your kids unless you want to be cleaning dark stains off everything. That'll never really go away. So you see, I did all that, and now I'm actually going to dump a lot of the graphite powder off. You see the kind of spooky shape that you get out of this? It's the main reason that I find this as fun as I do. Some of these areas ended up a little dark, a little light. I'm going to darken them. Now, I mentioned I usually do the pencils after. That's because it's a lot easier with this to start with just basic shapes, basic blobs, and then add detail on top of it, flesh it out. Try to create a little bit of a grass texture with some of this. This is just watercolor paper, by the way. I bought a batch of this at 6x9 specifically for this Kickstarter, actually. I had to order more graphite powder anyway, so I'm like, I'll get more paper. I'll get better paper than what I currently have. All right. Another little dump. By the way, I've mentioned that I'm doing this as a commission tier. One thing I'll get into at the end is why you will not necessarily make a mess if you order one of these from me, because there is a step that will, in fact, make this a lot safer to handle. Yeah, take a little more of this powder, add it as a shadow, because Andrew left a good shadow. All right. So now let's start figuring out where we need to add detail. Pencil back out. So something funny that had never occurred to me that got brought up is that one group that apparently tends to really like cryptid stuff are furries. And those of you who know my webcomic Cost Pain know that I am fond of the furry community. And though I am not one myself, full respect. Uh-oh. Shut up, printer. But it's funny because as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I need to be promoting this among that group. And I was actually advised not to pander too much with that, but I will say, if there's any story that would probably appeal to such a group, from my understanding of it, it would probably be Andrew's and Ian's Rougarou catfished by a dog person. See, the original image, I'll show again, like, remember, colors are off. But the original image is a little bit cute. Like, I even just noticed he's got a smile there. But I like that using this, you get something that's a bit spookier off the same basic image. That's half the fun of a draw on your style challenge. The way the challenge is working, by the way, is that if we can get 10 people to do this in their own styles and post it to social media with the hashtags DTIYS, or draw on your style, draw this in your style, and the hashtags less than secret, then we will release a desktop background for people. There's a skull over here. I'm going to stop looking at the image for this because I actually like drawing skulls. And it's supposed to be my style anyway, so I'll do it. A little bit more the way I normally would. All right, so we've done that step. Now let's do some more fine tuning. This is one of the big places where you get to get really fun with it using the eraser. Kneaded erasers are so amazing when it comes to picking up anything pencil. you actually end up drawing with the eraser as much as you do the pencil, because you actually can draw the light shapes. Andrew had the light mostly coming from the left side. I'm going to add some highlight to where the nose is. Kneaded erasers you can also twist into various shapes for whatever you need. I'm going to pick up some of the excess here. And pressing like that, I'm actually getting a little bit of a fur texture. I think I took a little bit too much off, though. I'm going to take the brush. Kind of feather it. Oh, he actually had this more shadowed on the inside. I sometimes do this without using a pencil at all, entirely going with the graphite powder itself, because I really like the way that looks. The tricky thing is you don't get nearly as much specific detail, and I kind of want to capture that a little more. Looks a little bat-like. It's kind of fun. Let's see. How about there? Let's make the skull particularly white. Darken the... Actually, switching to a different brush. If I've got it nearby, where did I put that thing? Too late. Big brush. It's going to do a smaller one to... I can be careful. Go. Feel like Bob Ross. I don't think Bob Ross ever messed with this stuff, though. That'd be kind of cool, actually. I'd love to see Bob Ross do this. All right. Smaller piece. I'm going to lighten the forearms a little bit just so it's more obvious that it's there. So the way this basically works is you make a mess, and then as you clean it, you get the details. I think we're getting close to where I want to be with this. Let's get some of that extra background up. Well, note I'm pressing as much as rubbing. I'm going to create the grass effect a little bit with the pencil. Just sharpen up that back part. By the way, you'll notice fingerprints end up a big part of any of these illustrations just because the oils in your hand can sometimes make patterns even when you don't mean for them to. Oh, the phone! Oh, I completely forgot about the phone. Oh boy, the phone's pretty much disappeared. I'm going to redraw it. In fact, I'm going to do this pretty much completely with pencil, I think. And now, get that screen lit up. It's a big phone, but whatever. Get some of the shadow that should be under that skull. Gotta be a little careful because I don't want to make it too nasty. Now let's see, what am I missing? Let's clean that tail up a little bit. I'm going to widen the jowls on this guy if I can. It's going to be a little tricky, but I want him to have a bit more of a dog-shaped face. I'm going to hand shade this. Really want the eyes to be as white as possible, almost glowing. Now let's see. I think we're pretty close to there. There is the light color backsplash that he's got. I'm going to try to be very light with that. See if I can create a similar round effect. I'm probably going to lighten this with the eraser in a minute, but beautiful. Let's see, anything I need to particularly touch up? I tend to work pretty quick, so I'm not surprised that this is getting close to done. All right. I think that is going to do what I needed to do. Let me dump off some of the excess. It's not a lot because it's mostly gotten worked in. that looks pretty good. All right. So, steps after this. I'm not actually going to do this because it stinks, and I usually do it outside. But once you've done this entire thing and it's ready to go, and you don't want to change anything else, you use this stuff, a spray-on fixative. You give it a couple coats, and it basically creates this layer that will harden and will make it'll basically make it so that the graphite powder won't get everywhere. So you spray it down really well, you give it at least an hour to completely dry, and then you're ready to go. Like I said, this stuff can be messy, it can be a little bit of a pain. I'm gonna do a little touch up while I'm talking, because why not? Yeah. And until you do this step, the whole thing's a time bomb waiting to happen. So, it is, though, absolutely rewarding. I was just thinking I was going to show other stuff on the stream, but it's actually kind of difficult because if I were to... The funny thing is, if I try to do something different, my hands are covered in graphite powder. Like, I'm going to mess up anything I touch. So I have to be pretty careful about it. I am, however, going to go ahead and switch over just so you guys can see me. Keep this enlarged. But yeah, I think this turned out pretty well. It doesn't look exactly like the original, but that's the point of a draw this in your style challenge. And I think what we came up with is pretty cool. We have a lot of time, don't we? This only took me half an hour, not even that. Okay, I'm going to do another illustration then. Let's do that. Trying to do this without looking. All right, this one's going to be out of my head. Let's see what happens. As I've said before, I really like doing horror stuff with this because of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. One of the first things... Oh, it's locked. That's actually smart. These things lock, so you can't just make a mess with it. I would sometimes just start doing graphite wash illustrations with no idea what it was going to look like, and then see what shape started to come out of it. I have an idea what I'm going to do. I'm just freewheeling right now. So the original graphite wash I worked with, I don't know the brand off the top of my head, but I should clarify, graphite powder is what it's called. But the original I use is actually a lubricant for bicycles. I don't know why graphite powder works as a lubricant for bicycles, but apparently it does. It gave me a little squeeze thing, and I just have to squeeze it out into a container to use it. And it worked basically the same as this stuff. I think I prefer having a large resealable jar. I'd actually really like to do an entire book like this. Maybe not a comic, but I actually was thinking it'd be fun to do a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark style horror anthology where I do a bunch of very quick, short horror stories based on the illustrations I come up with for this. More an homage than a ripoff, but, you know, kind of what I was thinking of going for. Want the bottom part to be darker than the top, but I can do some of that with an eraser. All right, let's start getting some detail in there. Sharpen stuff up. One of the other fun things you can do with one of these erasers is if you use a dirty part, it actually works as a drawing tool also. Adding dark spots. Start getting this funneled. I'm going to see how far I can take this without using a pencil. That's going to be an interesting challenge. Like I said, sometimes I'm able to do it, sometimes not. You usually end up with a very soft image. I kind of don't want that for this, but it's also interesting because I'm working fairly small. 6x9 is a good size for this kind of thing, but when I was originally doing it, I was doing a double size, 9x12. I decided to shrink for this project, and I think it was a good call. So part of the idea with the kneaded eraser is the more you knead it, the more you can actually work. You can get clean spots again because you're kind of working the dirty sections into the middle of it. One thing that you never really get until you're working with it is that an eraser is as much a drawing tool as anything else. Where's my small brush? I could really use it right now. What did I do with that thing? Hold on, I have my art kit down here. Maybe I left it in here. Let's see. Yep, there's one. It's a bit beat up, but that is a model maker's brush. It's not even, they're not super high quality. They're fairly cheap, but they are great for doing tiny detail work when you really need to. See, that's a lot easier to do here than with the giant brush. This isn't the giant brush, but you know what I mean, the larger brush. Here's my giant brush. Go from there. A little extra. Come on, darken. So this won't necessarily get you to pure black the way some people might like. Uh-oh. So my breathing just moved a bunch of graphite powder. Part of why I say this stuff is incredibly messy. Let's go back to the eraser. All right, let's see about cleaning around, sharpening the hood. Trying to make this into a hoodie. It's a little tough because I basically never wear hoodies. I know a lot of people love them, and I just do not wear them often, so sometimes you just kind of have to figure out the cut. I end up drawing a lot of characters with hoodies, but whoa, don't want you falling all over the place while you're still dirty. Let's see. You need this some more. It's too dirty. Need some trouble with the changing here. I'm actually going to do a quick dump. Hope that wasn't crazy loud. Let's get some highlights. The shadow. Problem with the small brush is it doesn't hold very much wash at a time. You saw it just dumped a big chunk. There we go. Sharpen that a little bit. So I hope this is giving you an idea of how you sharpen up this type of image with a brush. I hope you can also see why it's a lot easier to do those cleanup steps with a pencil. I may be going in a minute and doing that to do the final details, but it's kind of fun to challenge yourself like that. I'm gonna see if I can I'm gonna have the hood cover a little more of the forehead. Point a little bit. There we go. A little bit lighter so it's like a shadow. See about making this even, cleaner. That happens. Here, see if I can get it up. It's okay if the image looks a little dirty, but it'd be nice to be able to sharpen it just a little. Let's move the flatter. There we go. Oh, I just had kind of a fun idea. Actually, let me finish some of the cleanup here. First off, this is the image without having used a pencil. So it can be done. Here's where I'm going to have some fun. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm actually going to use a dirty piece of the kneadable eraser, see if I can pick up some of this, and let's darken the background a little. It's actually creating kind of a nice effect. The entire reason I did this so I could try to do a spooky. Breath cloud. There we go. Not going to be that obvious, but I think it's going to look a little cool. Let me get up a little bit of the more dense black so it's a little more even. And now I'm going to see if I can't sharpen just a tiny bit more there and there. One of the problems that artists end up with a lot is getting in kind of fiddling cycles. Can't stop fiddling with what you're working on. There's always something a tiny bit off. Let's darken those eyes a little bit more. Sharpen some stuff. Twist. See if I can. All right. Now, that's about as good as I think it's going to get without bringing the pencil in. And I think I want to bring a pencil in. Just because it's my piece, I'd rather it looked a little more the way I want it to. So let's sharpen a few places. So having a hard time with some of the very fine detail. When Stephen Gamel did this, he did, I'm sure he used a pencil for parts, but he also, I believe, worked a lot larger. Working small is one of the places where this has gotten interesting. I am personally in the camp that it's good to learn how to do any physical medium very small, because then when you work big, it's so much nicer. Like you really know how to work with it. Put a stitch on the side there and a stitch on the side there, that style of hoodie. Try not to overdo the pencil work. I guess I'm already overdoing it a little bit, but I think that's it. Yeah. Didn't do a ton, but what it did was it sharpened up some of the spots that were a little not sharp. I'm happy with that piece. Time is it? All right, we've been going for about 50 minutes. That's a little bit of a short stream, but I think that'll work for now. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat. I'm not seeing any comments. If anyone is watching, please feel free to ask me anything you want. I'm going to just do some closeout stuff, and then I can start some other things. So I am doing all of this as part of Less Than Secret, a cryptid comics anthology currently on Kickstarter. There is a QR code in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that is currently advertising that. There is also a link for it in the description of the video you're watching right now. The first illustration I did, I'll bring that back out. Is based on a Draw It In Your Style challenge. And this challenge was issued through our Kickstarter by Andrew Small, one of the artists on this project. He's a fantastic guy. Here, I'm going to bring up the original art. He goes by Bransom_art on Twitter and Instagram. I highly recommend following him. He's very good at what he does. And it's just absolutely fantastic. He sent this illustration. We're like, yes, we're using this for the Draw It In Your Style challenge. The way you do this challenge, redraw this illustration using whatever medium you want, however your style is, just draw in your style. Then post to social media with the hashtags DTIYS and the hashtag Less Than Secret. If we can get 10 people doing this, we're going to release a free phone background for everybody who backs the Kickstarter project. So it's a fun way that you can actually support us and really get the word out. In addition, like I said, definitely follow Bransom_art and check out more of his stuff. He's just starting out as a comic artist, and he is absolutely fantastic. He's been great to work with. If you run your own anthology, hire him, because he will help you. He's been really great for this whole process. You know what? I just remembered something that I wanted to do. I'm going to go back to this screen for a minute. There we go. Camera focus. Camera, I hope is focused. Where's my, here we go. Just a little fun thing. The phone now says, "You up?" Because it's a story about getting catfished by a cryptid. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and do my sign off. Thank you very much for sticking with me and checking out this video. If you are interested in getting a commission of your own, please go to the Less Than Secret link that I mentioned before. One of the tiers that we have is a commission in this style. Just basically, I'll ask you what you want me to draw. I will draw it, and I will send it to you. You also will get a digital copy of Less Than Secret once it releases. If you want a physical copy, there's a trick actually for doing that. In the add-on section, you can buy it as an extra book, and that'll just basically add a physical copy to your order. So, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I need to take these outside and spray them. Again, if you want to do this, make sure you have fixative spray, because otherwise the stuff will continue to make a mess forever. So, with that final caveat out of the way, and until next time, rock on, guys, and never stop drawing.